And one more thing. I mean, there's always one more thing. Back to the fibroids. I know you saw the title, so you knew. Black women have like 50%. Okay, these are the statistics that I found. White women are at 50% going through their menopause. Actually, it's not even just menopause, it's perimenopause, it's even as young as young women in their 20s getting fibroids and ovarian cysts, and 50% white women, 80% black women. And it is diet related, and I don't preach. Again, I do not preach to people whether or not, you know, they should eat animal products, but I hope that if anyone out there is eating animal products, that you're eating small portions and eating small amounts of it. And that you're eating it organic and making vegetation the bulk of what you eat. The processed foods is another reason. The high fructose corn syrup, anything with ose on the end of it, you know, it's some kind of sugar that they've created and put in the food. Highly processed foods, animal products, dairy, all of those things feed the fibroids. And the juicing, according to, you know, the research that I've done a whole lot of it since my episode a month ago. You know, the processed food puts so much stress on the body's processes that it doesn't have the energy to heal itself, because it's so busy trying to deal with all this crazy stuff you're putting in. You know, the artificial sweeteners, the aspartame, the processed this, the processed that. Okay, so that's a factor. The processed food. The meat feeds the fibroids when they happen. It feeds them. Especially red meat. Red meat is like the biggest offender. Let's see. Lack of activity. Lack of movement. Lack of sufficient activity. Getting out there, working out, that contributes to it as well. And, you know, you have to figure out, you know, what road do you want to take? You know, how do you want to eat so that you can either prevent this or heal it, you know, once it happens. Beverly Johnson, and I know you old school gals out there remember Beverly Johnson. She was the first black woman to be featured on the cover of Vogue magazine, and I remember her even before, it was the late 70s. And I used to worship, when I was a teenager, I used to worship Beverly Johnson. She, I don't know exactly when, but in my research I found a video of Beverly Johnson talking about her fibroid experience. She wishes she had done something holistic instead of something drastic. I will leave the link below this video in case you want to check out, you know, what Beverly Johnson, you know, if you want to check out her testimonial. But by the time she took the drastic move and got the hysterectomy, she was so strung out emotionally from just going through that nightmare. I mean, the non-stop bleeding. And she just reached that place where when her friends started talking to her about alternatives, I mean, she said she couldn't hear it because, you know, her whole life had to just shut down. But she does wish that, you know, she had listened to something alternative sooner. But yes, sisters, you know, we're in the high numbers, the highest numbers. You know, first of all, it's the overweight. You know, that's what I started with my earlier videos. The obesity, all the diseases that come along with that. You know, I did my series of Black Women Wake Up. I believe it was, yeah, it was 4 parts. And, you know, through my sport and exercise studies and, you know, the statistics that are out there about Black women and, you know, the fact that Essence and Ebony magazine, they are constantly doing something every month, every other month to, you know, to get us to wake up and love ourselves. And it all boils down to self-love. I mean, if you know that your lifestyle, your way of eating is destroying you, then, you know, you need to do something about it. And if you don't, then why are you not doing that? Why are you not loving yourself? Why are you not taking care of yourself? You know, a lot of people have been strung out with these chemical flavorings that they use, the food industry uses to keep people coming back for more. You know, using people, addicting people for profit. But, you know, once you become aware of something, then you have a choice. You have a choice to continue down that road or to turn things around. And I brought up the chemical flavorings for more than one reason. The other reason, the first reason, you know, is the fact that, you know, that's where we're addicted. You know, we're addicts. You know, Americans, the food, the fast food, you know, these fast food people, the FDA, I mean, they know what they're doing. They know exactly what they're doing. They're creating sickness. They're cashing in. This is what they're doing. And, you know, Europe won't even buy meat from America. And, you know, other countries, they do a much better job of regulating, you know, how the food comes to the people, how the meat comes to the people, for example. Now, in Japan, they don't have this fibroid, uterine fibroid, ovarian cyst thing going on. And they eat animal products, but they don't eat 14 pounds of meat every day, all day long, sugar this, sugar that, all the different sugars, you know, the Starbucks we're addicted to, you know, the cereals we're addicted to, all this, you know, overconsumption of the bad carbohydrates, which is processed food. I mean, they're not doing that to their bodies. They're eating, you know, clean meat in tiny portions. They're eating fish in tiny portions. And this is not to convince you to eat meat. This is not to convince you to eat meat. I'm saying this because it's the way, if you are eating meat and you're not going to give it up, if you know, are doing this, there's a better way to do it. And the Japanese, the Chinese, they do not overconsume. Meat is a very small portion. You know, my grandfather, he's been in Thailand for like, you know, almost 40 years. They eat tiny portions. You know, the bulk of their meals is vegetation. But, you know, then you add the fact that, okay, when it's not organic, you've got all these horrible chemicals in the meat. And the hormones, That's the last thing you need. If you're at risk for fibroids, or if you are already, experiencing them, going through it, the last thing you need is to take in more hormones, from sick cows, that were abused, and, they're not even slaughtered in a humane way. And for those of you who are believers, there are biblical laws about how you're supposed to go about slaughtering an animal. You're not supposed to abuse it. I'm not going to get into that, because it's like, this is not about, me arguing religion or trying to convince people of, my point is that, okay, so you're eating meat. You might want to seriously consider cutting it out. If you absolutely have to have it, cut down the portions. Find out, what is considered a portion, because our stomach, before we abuse ourselves, Americans, and our stomach gets all stretched out of shape, find out, what is the normal size of a human stomach. And, in foreign countries, when they move here, when they come here, they're shocked. I mean, you get a portion of food from Applebee's or wherever, and it's enough food, to them, it's enough food to feed 4 people. Why does anybody, so our portions, we're eating a lot of this stuff. And, here are these, Japanese women, these Chinese women, these Thai women, they're not getting this, yet they're eating small portions of clean meat and high vegetation. And, it would be wise, if you're going through this, or if you want to avoid it, to do the same thing. I haven't found any research on African women, but I do know that in Africa, and I always say this in my videos, everybody in Africa is not starving, and that's a whole media thing. Don't put it past them, what they do. High vegetation. High vegetation, small portions of meat. Same thing. They don't get the diseases that we get here in America. They don't have the greed, the processed food, and all that stuff. And, what you just have to decide what you want to do. I can't tell you, you have to be raw vegan, you have to be vegetarian, or you have to eat meat. But this is what I found. This is what I found. And, when you are eating the animal products, I've even found some things where it's saying that, dairy is even worse than the meat. You got to get that stuff out of your diet. You got to get it out. And, if you're going to do it, at least go organic. And, just find other ways, to do what you have to do to heal them, to heal the fibroids, the ovarian cysts, and maybe even prevent them altogether if you're not having that problem. So I'm going to go ahead and end the video. If you're going through this, you've got to be your own, the captain of your own ship. You've got to run this, because the medical doctors aren't going to do it for you. I mean, there's lots of information out there. There are holistic practitioners out there. There's just so much that you can do to help yourself. And it really is simple, just eating real food. And, getting rid of what is not going to help you, to get well, and then get well. So, get well, honor your temple, and I will see you next time. You take care. Bye-bye.